Well, hello there, Tom. Hello, everybody. This is not the smartest guys in the room. Julie Loken, hello there. How you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing well today. How you doing, man?
I'm fired up, man. My rib isn't hurting as bad. I'm going on 3 weeks since I fell off my bike, and it's not hurting as bad. I
The,
can't
the
sleep at
healing
all.
journey continues.
Yes, healing. I can't sleep at all. I mean, my sleep is junk, but otherwise, I'm doing.
Yeah, you texted me at like 6 something this morning, so I knew because like I know you don't like to get up super early.
That is true.
Um, yeah, so like you texted me at like 6 something this morning, and I was like, oh, what is he doing up this early? What do we?
Yeah, today I was just like, forget it. Some days I've just been going and laying on the couch, but today I was like, going.
When I've broken ribs, when I've cracked ribs in the past, I'm telling you, sleeping on the couch was my best friend. A recliner works pretty well too, because it keeps you from like because what my problem was like where it would really create an issue for me and really disrupt my sleep was rolling over, right? Because you roll over and you like put pressure on that rib in a weird way, and man, that pain is instant and sharp and jolts you awake, right? Like an electric shock.
Yeah.
So for me, like putting myself in a sleeping position where I couldn't roll over easily, right? Like on a couch or in a recliner, made it so that I could actually get it wasn't great sleep, right? I wasn't sleeping like a baby, which is a funny term because like babies have weird sleep schedules. So I don't even know where that comes from. We'll get into that another day, I guess. But but yeah, I mean, it wasn't great sleep. It wasn't high quality sleep. My Becky's friend, Dr. Shelby, who's a sleep doctor. She's a psychologist and focuses on sleep medicine. She would tell you that that's likely not good quality sleep, I'm sure, but low quality sleep is better than no sleep any day of the week, right? So yeah, I don't know. That was always my secret, but I'm glad to hear that you're feeling better.
I'm on the mend. I'm going somewhere soon, and I'll leave it at that. And I had a goal to climb rocks, and I still want to climb. I've never climbed rocks before, and I think I need to climb rocks. I think my life will be more complete if I climb rocks, and even if they're like faux rocks or whatever. But I think I need to suck it up and climb the rock. But then I'm worried about like slamming off a wall or something like that and hitting my ribs. So
Are you going to go free solo? Is that what's happening? Is that
no,
what you're
no.
trying to play all calm and quiet, but you're going to go free solo El Cap in Yosemite or what?
Yeah. At some point. All right. So this is not the smartest guys in the room. We talk about broken ribs. We talk about races. We talk about a lot of different stuff. But today we talk all things media. Today we're going to get into building community, and so community goes into branding. Uh, Tom, what else does it go into?
I mean, community kind of goes into everything, right? And I use the word. Anybody who's been here with us more than once or twice has heard me use the word community a ton of times, and probably has had to listen to me explain why I use it. So, spoiler alert: you're about to have to listen to that again. But the reason why I use the word community all the time is because when we say the word community, we think of people, right? We think of human beings. When you imagine a community, when you picture a community in your mind, you picture a group of people, right? And I think that's super important as businesses or brands or entrepreneurs or people who work for or represent businesses or brands, right? Like depending on where you are, like what your work looks like, what your professional life looks like. It's really important for businesses and brands to think about the people who are their customers as human beings. So to think of them as the community that they serve, the people that they provide a solution for, right, is really important. And it completely changes the way you interact with your customers and clients, right? So I think community is incredibly important. I think when we talk about brands and community, to me, what we're talking about is the community that those brands or businesses serve and how they solve problems for those individuals, for those people. But when we talk about community within a business, we're talking about corporate culture and company culture, which is also incredibly important because I don't know, newsflash, right? This might come as a surprise or a shock to some people, but people who are happy do better work. So I know it's a crazy concept, revolutionary, right? There's this weird idea in business that like that people perform best under threat, and it's completely insane. It makes no sense whatsoever because in our personal lives, if we think about it, when we feel threatened, what do? Sometimes we make rash, crazy decisions. We make bad decisions. We don't hold up well under that kind of pressure over a long term period, right? I mean, like all of these kinds of things come unraveled when you put a ton of pressure on people. When you make them happy and satisfied, right? Guess what? They perform really well. They enjoy showing up and coming to work, and they take pride in excelling at the work that they do. It's a crazy concept, but it works, right? So like, I think community is really important. Broadly speaking, I think it's really important for us as human beings. I think it's really important for businesses to embrace the idea of community and building community around their brands. And I think it's important for businesses to embrace this idea of community as it relates to company culture and promoting a positive, good, structured work environment that provides, overall happiness and satisfaction to the employees that work within that business. And now I will step off my soapbox.
All right, you did a good job though. You covered a lot of points. So let's dig in on this. I'm going to go to our media expert, our publicist here, Julie Loken, if she so willingly wants to speak on this. Julie, if I run, let's say my dad has a landscape company, or I know a friend who's a plumber, or like me, a publisher. Can you really build community, or do you have to have a certain type of business? Is there tips for building community, Julie?
You can build a community wherever you go. It just takes one person. It's about educating them. Let's say your dad's a landscaper. Let's just pretend your dad is a landscaper, Tom. Okay. Maybe he can be giving tips on how to grow tulips in the spring or something like that. And to Tom's point, being his revolutionary thought on how happiness makes for better work environment. It's so true. And we saw that in the Great Resignation a couple of years ago, just where everybody was quitting or resigning from their jobs. They were doing that because they were miserable and they recognized this autonomy. We're searching for something more. Fulfillment, personal development, all the hard skills went really into, they wanted employers and a community that understood the soft skills like empathy, and laughter was a huge thing, like having a light working environment where you can laugh and you understand your brother or sister's situation that they're going through in the workplace. So that is where I'm landing my plane today. Thanks, guys.
Don't just land there. So let me double back. So you covered my dad and the tulips. That was a good idea. And I read Tom Langan's book, Legendeering, and he talked about a realtor that started doing a show on the parks that she liked in the community because she was into green space and things like that. Besides tulips and green space, what are some other ideas that you guys, anybody in here could throw out for, I'm just starting? So it's easy when you 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, they can do this. I'm just starting my business. How do I build a community? Julie?
You need people who like you, and it is all about know, like, and trust. And I know I kind of get guff for this just because I like people to like me. And it is a problem, by the way, because I don't have very good boundaries. Just FYI, we're all friends here. But you need to build that know, like, and trust. So if you're a realtor, just exploring different parks in the area, that's brilliant. Or if you are law enforcement, radio, talk show, giving tips on safety or giving tips on blah, blah, blah. You always have to think about your audience first. And that's how you get people to like you. And people, the funny thing is people want to see who you really are. Like I'm just looking at my dog here. He just pulled down my notebook and he's like chewing on my notebook. People connect with that kind of stuff, the realness of who you are. Nobody wants to be sold to in a community. Let me just tell you, it's okay to share the stuff that you're doing, but the last thing I want to do is be in a community or a space where you're telling me I need to buy your program for $999 and you're going to make me a millionaire in 6 months. That's the last thing I want to be a part of. Thank you.
Well, and I hear you, Julie, and I agree.
Pushback. I'm getting pushback.
No, not at all.
He's on team Julie. Yeah, see?
I'm just teasing you, Tom. I'm giving you pushback.
The assumptions. No, I said I agree. I 100% agree. I think we're all tired of getting pitch slapped, right? Like I love that pitch slapped. And I can't take credit for that. I forget who said it. Like I don't remember if it was in here. Dom, do you remember? Does that ring a bell to you?
It does ring a bell. Like we've heard that in the last couple of weeks. So it's good stuff. Pitch slapped.
Yeah, I think it was somebody in Not the Smartest Guys that said it first. Like I'm not going to take credit for coining that term because I 100% didn't.
Especially when you say it real fast. Especially when you say it real fast. Go on, Tom.
Yeah, but I love it and I'm going to keep using it. I actually used it in a discovery call yesterday with an organization that I was introduced to, and they loved it. It was pretty funny. But we're all tired of getting pitch slapped, right? Like we're all tired of being sold to 100% of the time. Like everything we see, like, and obviously I'm exaggerating for effect here, but like it feels like sometimes everything we see is another pitch, is another hard sell, and it's exhausting. And and you see businesses complain about how it's not super effective. And it's like, yeah, because you did it too much. It's like a little boy. It's a little bit of the boy who cried wolf kind of thing happening, right? Like if you pitch all the time, all day, every day, you're going to get a lot of no's. And over time, people are going to get tired of hearing from you and they're just going to tune you out and ignore you and steer clear of you. Right. So like, I think you're absolutely right, Julie. Like, and I know John Wiley is going to back me up on this, right? Because he says he preaches this all the time, and he does what he says here is audience comes first, right? It's all about the audience. So I think the first thing to do, Dom, to get back to your original question, is figure out who you're talking to, right? If you're a new business, if you're just starting out, decide who you're talking to. And you don't have to like literally pick a person, but like think about a group of people, a sort of target demographic, to use a term, or like create an avatar, right? Who's the kind of person? What are the sort of words that describe the kind of people that you want to work with, that you want to interact with, that you want to attract to your business, that you want to have in your community? Who do you want to have in your community? And then create content that delivers for those people. And when you create that content, Julie hit on one other thing that I talk about all the time, and I'll mention it because you started it, Tom. It's in my book, Legendeering. And that is to be relentlessly authentic, right? Relentlessly authentic. You have to always be yourself. Authenticity beats polish every day of the week, right? I put up a post about that just like 2 weeks ago, right? Authenticity beats production value every day of the week. So like be authentic, be yourself, decide who you want to talk to, and then create content that provides value to those people. That's how you get started. What do you think, Tom? I
think it's good. I'm digging the conversation, and I love the idea of building community. I think I do it well. I hope so. And most of my time is spent, like, this is probably a bad admission, but most of my time is spent engaging and interacting with my community, less than actually like I'm a publisher of books, so I read a lot of books and give my ideas and give my thoughts. That's in, do the sales process, but reading and giving my ideas on what I read is most of my time. Then probably right up there with that is engagement on social media, being with the community, engaging the community, listening to what the community has to say. I think where I want to go with this is it is never about Roto-Rooter or me or this, like Julie said about the tulips. The tulips isn't about the business. The tulips is about the community liking other people into gardening or green space, like your friend. So in my world, I am inspiration, positivity, and smiles. Every piece of content, everything that we engage in, everything that our being is that type of content. It is not me who produces all that content, because I'm a fan of John. If he puts out a great story, or Julie puts out a story, or Tom or Holly just buzzed in, anybody that's putting out that kind of content, I support it. I encourage it. I want them to be highlighted. It's not about me. Now, later on down the road, 10 years from now, or if they're there and they say, I like this place. This guy, this Dom doesn't have two heads when I see him here. He doesn't have two heads. Here's some other people he helped publish books. I think because I like positivity, I like inspiration, I think I can make a difference. I think if I'm going to write a book someday or refer somebody, I'll refer to him. And that's all. And so for me, I just keep on enjoying the type of content and spending my time in that world, which is like really rewarding, because I get to do whatever I want all day long. When I think that going to the Steeler game and smoking cigars and hanging out with my friends is positive, that's what I do. If I think it's riding bikes and filming it, that's what I do, because it is all on brand or in that community. So, okay, let's roll on here. Tom, how's that for an answer? We're going to, Julie's flashing. So Julie.
No, I'm just saying you guys are amazing and you have a community here. And what I think has worked for me in building communities, and Tom can add to this, is edifying other people, because it can't just be about yourself. Thank you. I'm not going to talk anymore. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Julie. I agree. I think, if you're going to build a community, you have to support the constituency of that community, right? You have to support the people that are part of that community. And I agree with you, Dom. I mean, I think, go ahead. What are you going to say?
This is you guys are both making me, I just something that, like last week I was in a bad mood because my rib hurts. Now it doesn't hurt as much, but something that Julie's really good at, John's really good at, you're good at. It isn't about you. Like, so many people, as soon as they build their community, it's how they can sell their $900 course or $5,000 course. Like Julie said, you can see it, right? It was never about building a community of engaged, happy people or readers or plant lovers or whatever. No, it was really about selling that $900 course. And so, like Tom said, you're getting pitch slapped, you're all these other things. So go on, Tom.
Yeah, no, and I'm like you, Dom. I'm probably, I probably go too far in the direction of sort of not doing that enough, right? Like I because it drives me so crazy, I kind of overcorrect too far back to the other side, like, in the other direction. And probably, and I've been told by people that I need to sort of be a little bit more comfortable talking about my company and what we do and how we do it, and actually, kind of selling what we do a little bit better, right? Presenting it a little bit better. I would never do it in an aggressive way because that's antithetical to who I am and how I like to do things. But I'm with you, Dom. I tend to probably overcorrect a little bit too far away from that, and I've been sort of chastised by friends in the past that I need to do a better job of kind of riding in the lane, riding in the lane rather than overcorrecting and going off the shoulder in the other direction, right? So
you could turn people off. You could turn people off the other way. Well, this guy doesn't want to work with me. He's too good for me. He never asked. One of my best clients told me, you didn't ask. I was waiting for you to ask, and you never did. And I think I did, but so Jim, my buddy Jim Ajay down there, he's a sales guru. I thought I did ask, but this particular gentleman says I didn't. Yeah, and so he was like, I wasn't going to go with you because you didn't ask. I thought I did. So to your point, Tom, there's people out there that probably are thinking that.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I know there are for me because they tell me, right? Like some of them tell me that that I need to be better about kind of following a pathway towards, actually closing a sale rather than, just sort of, I'm really good at building a network, right? And I'm good at developing relationships with people. I'm not good at turning, kind of making sales, as the sort of next logical step in that process. Which is why I'm looking to bring somebody in to help me with that, right? At Talex, like, because that's not my strong suit. And I 100%, I've always believed, right? At least, well, I say always, not always, because I'm 100% guilty of not being good at this when I was younger and in leadership positions. But I believe now that that you can't and you shouldn't try to do everything yourself, right? That you absolutely should bring people in who are smarter and better at certain things than you are, like set them up for success, give them the tools they need to succeed, and then get the hell out of their way and let them do what they do, right? um so yeah, I'm trying to do that right now with Talex. We were really close with somebody, unfortunately, because of logistics and some other things, it didn't work out. So we've got somebody else that we're meeting with early next week. But that's one of the things that I'm trying to do. It's just, I'm recognizing what I'm not great at, and trying to bring somebody in to help kind of fill those gaps for me within my business. But again, it's about, I'm kind of looking at it on a very sort of micro scale. I'm building a community. I'm building, a community within Talex, which has sort of grown and shrunk depending on projects, for the last 4+ years that we've been in business. But now it's time to kind of, get that community to grow a little bit more sustainably and permanently.
Well done, my friend. Well done. All right, let's keep this train rolling. So, Jason, the communities you are part of, or the communities you want to be part of, is there something that they offer? Is there a reason you're attracted to them, or is it just like, yeah, these are a bunch of cool dudes, I'm going there? Or what's your thought process?
Well, that's kind of a hard question for me to answer. I'll just say I go where my interests are, and my interests are in different things. I'm interested in how people talk, how people relate first. If you don't know how to relate to someone else, then what do you do? So I go where my interests are, wherever they may be. What are my primary interests? I'm interested in stoicism. That's number one. I'm interested in family. That's number two. Problem solving and obstacles. Those are character areas that I want to work with and develop through. So hopefully that answers your question. But community is best built when you find aligned interests. So that's what I can say.
Okay, Jason. Tom, you flashed there for a second. Thank you, Jason. Tom,
Yeah.
what do you want?
Well, I mean, I was just going to say, like, and to that last point that you closed with, Jason, I think a good way and a short path, right? Not a shortcut, a short path to creating community around aligned interests is by being authentic, like we were talking about before, right? Because if you are clear and authentic and stand in your values and share those values with other people, then you will naturally, people who are attracted to those values, people who align with those values, people who agree with you on the values that you hold, will seek to surround you and help you build community around your brand, your business. So authenticity, I think, is the clearest, straightest path towards building a community that is built on shared values, like you were talking about, Jason. So I just wanted to throw that out.
Thank you. Something you have made me think about, each of you today, is that while we build community outside our organization, we're also building community inside our organization. And a lot of the people I work with are people that are able to, they're lighthearted and stand up and good. Most of them, I would think all of them, but they're able to jump on a Zoom and represent me well, and I can take them somewhere in person, and they do awesome. And people are like, wow, that was a really nice person. I really like them. I'm reminded of a guy that when I first started out in this business, I had a partner, and he was a master of algorithms, super smart dude. And I was infatuated with his intelligence, but man, he was a SOB. And like to everybody, it was scorched earth everywhere he went. And we had one of our first client, he made her cry, and she called me up and was like, this is terrible, like heartbroken. And we were in a process that was supposed to be a rewarding process, and something that you look back on and are glad you went through it. And this guy was making people cry. We'd go to events with this. We'd go to like summer events and be out like at a fair, and he would be yelling at the people that come by, oh, you're not going to spend any money here, and like harassing them. So finally we broke up. We did break up, and I gave him, I'll tell you, we had money in the bank. I gave him all the money in the bank. I kept like ISBN numbers. I published a book for him, and that was how we parted ways. But my point, as you build culture, I knew as you build, even though I wasn't thinking of it how you have shared with me today, I knew I can't have this kind of person representing me. This isn't what I want. This isn't what I'm about. And so it was tough, right? Because when you first start out, you don't want to give half your money away or all the money, and but that's just the way it worked. So, all right, let's continue. Hey, Favor, what's going on, man? Favor flashed off, so I'll get a Favor, and then John. Go on, Favor.
Favor, you have to join the house too. He has a ticket.
And how did I not meet Favor? Favor was at Creative Con.
How did you not meet him?
I know.
What are you
man.
talking
Did
about?
not meet him, Dominic.
That's how much was going on that I didn't even get to meet this VIP Favor. But he flashed off. If you wanted to add something on that, Favor, go ahead. We'll give you a 3, 2, 1. Then we're going to go to John first. John, building community. So people love John J. Wiley. Have you noticed that, Tom? Like everybody that crosses his path, they may be afraid of him at first, and then they see he's this big teddy bear. Julie, you think John's a teddy bear?
He's a teddy bear, but he scared me for a long time.
Yeah, so. Me too. I'm still
really
a little
scary.
I'm still a bit afraid.
Favor's scared of him.
Yeah, we're all a bit afraid. But such a good guy, such a kind heart, adds value everywhere he goes. So, John J., community building. Do you give a crap about it because it doesn't produce results? Does it produce results? What's your thoughts?
Well, no, I very much care about it. Produced a lot of results for me, especially digitally or online. It's all about the community. It's all about serving their needs. Put their wants, their needs way ahead of yours. I use a strategy on my page of 3 to 1. Three posts daily for them, then 1 for me, about what I'm doing, and I repeat that throughout the day. On another page I post on, which is bigger, it's 4 to 1, 4 engagement posts, what they're concerned with, what's going to get their attention, what's going to get their blood boiling, what's going to increase engagement. Then it's a post about me and my show. So the easiest thing to say is figure it, and it's when we deal with concepts, it can be a little bit harder. So if you know your primary consumer base that you want to get as a customer is men 45 to 60, do a little research and figure out areas of interest that men 45 to 60 are interested in, and start posting about those constantly. Don't make it about you. I love that term, pitch slap. Don't make it about you. Don't make it about your service. So many people put the cart well before the horse. They focus on, I got to sell, I got to sell, I got to sell, instead of I've got to attract consumers.
Hey, John, how long, if somebody's just starting out here, so somebody's just starting out, they just started the business, they just started online, and they put out a piece of content, And a week later, they're like, I don't have 100 followers. I don't have 10. I don't have 1,000. And they give up. Is there a timeline to get to the point where they're able to do 3 to 1 or 10 to 1 or 5 to 1?
There is a timeline. It's called when you quit, it's over. It doesn't matter. For each one, it's up to them. Here's what I would say with new people, whatever your business is going to be. Let's just say you're doing Facebook or you're doing Instagram. Do not, for the first 3 days, ever post a damn thing about you and what you want them to do, or how they can help you, or what you've got to sell them. Don't do it. Focus on posting stuff that's going to make their life better, that they're going to respond to. Then they'll be more appropriate for you. When we start any sentence, we do online, social media, podcast episodes, whatever. If we start with I, me, or mine, we are edging out consumers. Start with you. Start with them. Start with the topic. Don't ever start anything you do with I, me, or mine. Start with them, and you'll grow a lot faster.
I knew John was gonna love this idea, because we've talked about this so many times. We've talked about it in person. We've talked about it in this space so many times. And John epitomizes this, right? Like, this is what he does, is he puts his audience first, right? It's how he's found traction and success on social media. It's how he's found traction and success for his radio show in having I forget how many stations his show's carried on now. John, how many stations are you on now?
111.
Yeah.
Broadcasting to about 40 million combined population. And I got to address the needs of them as consumers. If I'm not doing that, I'm not going to be in 0 stations.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not an accident. That doesn't happen by accident. John is on that many stations, reaching that many people, potentially reaching that many people, because he puts his audience first, right? And it's just such a simple, straightforward approach that so many people miss, because they get caught up in this sell mentality and look at any opportunity to communicate with the consumer population, right? Any opportunity as a sales opportunity, right? And that's not how you should look at it. Everything is not about making a sale. And to be perfect, and like John's saying, if you don't put in the time and the effort and the energy, right, to develop those relationships, to build community, to make your audience understand that you value them and you put their needs first, then you're not going to have anybody to sell to. But as John was talking, I thought of, like, there is a way that I think we can some of these things can work in unison, right? So, like, not maybe in a radio context or in a broadcast context, but more in a business context. If you're a business that's doing outreach, right, and setting up discovery calls with people, stop treating those discovery calls like a first pitch opportunity, because they're not. They're called discovery calls for a reason. The whole idea of those calls is to learn about the person you're talking to, right? Discover them, right? Discover them, discover who they are, discover what they need, discover what they want, right? Discover what their problems are, so that you can then, in later conversations, offer solutions to them, right? But, like, if you actually do that right, if you approach that kind of sequencing of building a relationship correctly and actually treat discovery calls like discovery calls rather than first pitch opportunities or first sales opportunities, you can use them to build community. And while somebody may not be a buyer for your product or service now, if you actually build a relationship with them, if you demonstrate to them that you care, then guess what? 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, when they are in a position to buy from you, who are they going to call? The person that they already have a relationship with. So not only are you growing your community when you treat things that way, but you're also sowing the seeds for your future success, right? And ultimately, John's growth is a testament to this kind of approach, right? If you put audience needs first, right? John didn't start out reaching 40 million, a demographic population of 40 million, right? That's not where he started. That's where he is now. And he got there by putting their needs and their wants first, right? Started small and built it up to millions and millions of potential reach every time he broadcasts a radio show. So just look at that as a lesson and an opportunity that when you do put your audience first, it can result in big long-term successes down the line, right? But I think it's something that's really easy for people to forget and to overlook in that moment of I got to sell, or I might be able to close a deal today, right? Stop worrying about today, worry about tomorrow. What do you think, Dom? You having trouble finding the mute button?
No, I'm good. I'm good,
Oh, okay.
man. I'm here.
I was like,
calm.
what's the delay? What's happening? Usually you're
Come
like,
on.
you're right
Yeah,
there.
no, usually, so for anybody that's on LinkedIn, Tom has this big board set up where he connects us so we're able to live stream multiple places. I mute and unmute people and get us more lovely people on our panel. And so I unmute and mute. So I'm looking off of the phone. If you see, Tom gets to make, I want to say this to everybody who watches on the live stream. Tom gets to make better eye contact with the camera than I do. And it has always agitated me. And it's because I'm looking off at the side at this little thing that I got to press the buttons. So when I don't get to make eye contact as much, I get jealous of Tom's eye contact. Now, granted, his production studio there is a little more elaborate than mine, but I'm jealous of the eye contact. So anyway, sidebar. Tom, go on.
Small. It's a modest investment. You can get eye contact. You just gotta.
But I'm looking off at a different screen.
Well, but you don't have to. You can pony up a couple
And
of
put it
bucks
in the
for eye
middle of the
contact.
screen.
I'm looking at your face right now. As
Yeah,
we're
but I gotta
talking,
look at
I'm
this
looking
other.
at your face.
I gotta look at this screen.
But you don't have to if you
push.
make a little investment. That's what
But
I'm saying.
Hey, you two ladies, settle this somewhere else.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
Wait, why did you call them ladies?
I don't know.
Brian?
You knew Brian was
Come on.
going there. You
All
know.
right.
He starts trouble. He starts trouble right off the bat. But that's all right.
I think
Hey.
he said ladies. He meant kids. I think, right?
Okay,
Like,
that's
yeah,
fair. That's
children.
fair.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Gentlemen.
Okay.
I
Now,
did see Dom. I was going to say I didn't know if it was accidental, but I did see Dr. Tachi flashing a few minutes ago. I just wanted to give her a
I
chance.
can't believe Dr. Tachi is here. I'm so excited to see her.
Before we go to Dr. Tachi, let me do something that, because I consume Dr. Tachi's content, I'm a fan of Dr. Tachi's content. So Dr. Tachi, I'm going to do something and you tell me if you recognize this. Mary, Jim Ajay, Brian P. Swift, Johnny, Holly, Howard's in the house, Amanda's in the house, Brandon. I listen to Brandon, smart dude. Brent, what's going on? My friend Jimmy Ajay, Favor, John J. Wiley, Jason 72, the architect, Julie Loken, Tom in the house, our LinkedIn viewers. Thank you. We appreciate you. I was watching Dr. Tachi. I'll let you answer the question. So Dr. Tachi, back to you. Go on.
Yes, good morning. I didn't mean to flash. I did. That was a mistake. But I'm glad to be here. And yeah, that means you watched my latest Be More.
See, okay. So do tell, what was going on there, Dr. Tachi?
So this week I decided to talk about acknowledging your audience. There are so many people that you'll do a live stream, you'll do a podcast, and it's about you, and you never acknowledge your audience. The whole reason you have anything is because you have an audience there to listen. Otherwise, you would be talking to yourself. So my thing is always acknowledge them. You build community when you get to know who they are, where they're from. Generally, I know my audience, whatever they come in, I know who they are generally, unless they're new, and where they're from. And so I'll ask, so how's everything going in Seattle, etc., that type of thing. It makes them feel like you're paying attention to them, something that they cannot get from some other outlet. So definitely acknowledge your audience and definitely thank them for being there, because they don't have to be there.
I think that's a great point, Dr. Tachi, and I appreciate that. To that end, I want to thank. There's some weird. I'm having some funkiness on my LinkedIn. I keep refreshing the page, and sometimes there are comments there, and sometimes there aren't, and it's a little bit weird. The kind of, I don't know if it's a little bit of a bug in the UI for LinkedIn for the live stream, but a friend of mine, Sarah, here locally in the Hudson Valley, she was commenting on LinkedIn. So appreciate you being here, Sarah, and participating and sharing your thoughts on this idea that I was. And now I just refreshed the page and her comments disappeared. So I don't know what the deal with LinkedIn is.
I was going to ask you what she said, Tom. You told us she said something, but
she was. It was something around the idea that or when I said planting the seeds, talking about community management. She's talking about an organization that talks about how to metaphorically, treat community management within like sort of a scientific based company or science-based company, I think is what it is. So she said she said happy to share, and they also wrote a paper on using a house party as a model for community management. So Sarah, send me that paper, share that paper with me. I'd love to see that. That sounds interesting if you're a nerd like me. But yes, thanks to everybody who's watching or listening on LinkedIn right now. We really appreciate you guys on both my page and Dom's page. Thank you to everybody watching, listening across the internet. Obviously, everybody here on Clubhouse. It's always a good reminder to say thank you. I know we say thank you at the end, but maybe we make it a point to say thank you more than once every time we do this on Wednesdays. I think that's a good thing to do. Every couple of times we should stop for a minute and just say thanks to everybody for being here. I'm happy to do that. I like the idea behind that. So thanks for that, Dr. Tachi.
Dr. Tachi rules. I was doing an episode of Bikes and Hikes the other day, and I was talking to my friend Dave about like gratitude, and I was telling him about some concerts I went to, and I am in love with Kenny Chesney for this reason. When I was at his concert, he said 1,000,000 times, "Thank you. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank each of you for deciding, working hard till you could be here today. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to do what I love every day of my life. I want to," and I'm sitting out in the crowd thinking, this is magnificent. You talk about building community. Here's somebody that made me feel, somebody sitting probably in the highest nosebleed seat there. This guy made me feel special. And then I went to see Taylor Swift one time, and she did it too, but not quite as good as Kenny Chesney, not quite as authentic, but she was pretty good. And the other day I watched Billy Joel I watched that Billy Joel special like on CBS or something, and I just went recently to the Garden to see him, and he did the same thing, man. Here was this guy. Thank you. 1977, you bought this album. I don't know why you bought it, and now you keep listening to this song. Thank you so much. And each of these people, what we see, they have huge communities. And here's these, you think, what do they need the guy in seat 542 for? Or what do they need? Here I'm watching Billy Joel at my house. What's he need me for? But he figures out a way to thank that person. So I think me and Tom, and all of us here, we could probably do a better job thanking all those people, anybody that supports us in any way. Right, Tom? He's just looking at me. So Tom doesn't want to thank people. No, never mind.
No, hang on. I got something weird going on here.
All right, let's go on. Hey, Favor,
right, no,
you want to add anything about building community? Because you flashed off before you were on, you were off. So if you want to, here's your chance. If not, we're moving to our friend Brian P. Swift. Go on, Favor.
Awesome. Thank you, Dominique, and thank you for bringing me up here. Julie, good to see you, John, and good connecting with you again, Tom, and good seeing you as well, Dr. Tachi and Brian. I love community because that's where everything begins. I feel like the basis for community starts with us. The first point of business is family. God created family first. So if there's family, there's community. If there's community, there's value. If there's value, there's appreciation. So if you're building a community, there has to be a there has to be, how do I put this? There has to be some type of syncing that allows you to connect with the person that you've never connected with, but relate to that person on the same level, at the same threshold. And sometimes you don't want to be the smartest person in the room, right? Talking about the topic today, not the smartest guys in the room, because you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. So if your community is building connections, and you maybe are in a LinkedIn group, or you're in a Facebook group, or you're in, some type of group setting, and you're building connections there, one thing that you should think about standing out, especially in a group, is not just your content, but how you deliver your content. Because when someone sees your comment, they see your post, they'll go and check you out a little bit more. They'll go to your LinkedIn, they'll go to your Facebook, they'll go to your website. So I believe community starts with the intention of bringing people closer to the goal that you intended to set for them. And the community that is growing should not be your focus. The focus should be the foundation. Because if a community is growing, it means that people are talking to each other. Just like you go to a school, right? When you go to a school, it's a community, right? Each person will tell another person about the school, even though they advertise about the school, but the people in the school talk about the school they're already in to their peers. So if you're building a community within a peer-to-peer setup, then the connections have to be similar. There has to be some type of affinity that allows you to still stay connected to that person. And ultimately, you can be able to build a product from there, right? It may not be easy to build a community at the first stance, but I feel like when you're building a community and thinking about having an email list in mind, building a community with contacts, that's when the community really appreciates and value, because you can have 1,000, 10,000 followers on any social platform, but if you don't have at least a percentage or 10% of that audience, then your community may not grow as fast, because you want to build that community through storytelling. So the more stories you tell, the more people you impact, the bigger your community is, and the faster you can be able to fly. Hope that helps.
Thanks, Favor. Yeah, I mean, I think storytelling, I just want to hit on that for just 1 second real quick. And then I think Dom's got show and tell coming up next for us. So, but really quickly, that idea of storytelling that you hit on, I think is incredibly important. Storytelling is one of the ways that we as human beings built the cooperative societies that we live in today, right? Storytelling is incredibly important to our success as a species. We are literally engineered, wired. It's in our DNA. We are predisposed to like stories. So the more often you can frame information in a story and deliver it within the context of a story to your audience, the more likely they are to remember, the more likely they are to use that information to build value over time, and the more likely they are to come back for more from you, right? It's a great way to build community. So thank you for hitting on that. I really appreciate it. Dom, what are you going to show us this week?
Okay, something new. Let's go. So I am a lover of basketball. What I'm going to show you today is a team that I love that has built community. So we're talking about community. Perfect time for this. I love the Knicks because I was a fan in the 90s. Although I loved Michael Jordan, they were like the anti-hero to Michael Jordan. They played a different style. They were rough. They were physical. They were mean. They have lost for 30 years. I mean, since then, they haven't been back for 30 years. But there is this community that they've built. You see on their Instagram pages, you see who's at the games. You see the highlights and things like that. So a couple weeks ago, me and my son, who now loves the Knicks, they're his favorite team. And I don't know how because I loved other teams and he loves the Knicks. So we went to a Knicks game. So here is my show and tell today. This foam finger is my show and tell. Let's go Knicks. This is what they gave me at the event, this little foam finger. Number one, I love my foam finger, but I also love my Knicks. And when we were at that game, they absolutely delivered. Even though they lost the game, they shot T-shirts out into the stands. They had Freddie Mercury singing up on the big screen. They figured out a way to get every person, like Dr. Tachi was saying, they figured out how to get every person involved. They had enough go, oh, you like the stars along Celebrity Row? We'll show you these. You like the basketball, you like the kiss cam, you like whatever's going on. So they were excellent at building community. I'm in love with it. The venue was incredible. I can't wait to go back and take my foam finger and cheer. Like it was, as a basketball fan, the atmosphere there was absolutely incredible. So my foam finger and building community is what you get today. How's that?
I love it. I love it. I mean, I'm not an enduring basketball fan, but I kind of got into basketball for a while when I was in middle school, and it happened to be when the Knicks and the Bulls kind of had that big rivalry going, and there was a bunch of tension between those two teams, and like the Knicks were putting up a really good team every year. I was a big like Patrick Ewing fan. Right. I watched the Knicks for a few years there in middle school. And you're absolutely right. They've been terrible since then. Since like the early to mid 90s, they basically have not fielded a good team. They have not put a good team together since like the sort of mid 90s. But
so why do we still love them, Tom?
Well, I mean, but what I was going to say was, I think. So sports fandom is community, but there's also tribalism involved, which is a slightly different animal in the way it's expressed. But I think there is a sense of community involved. You talk about, you've been a Steelers fan, forever, right? And I when I was in Pittsburgh with you guys recently, I got to hear all about exactly how long you waited to get your season tickets, right? To go to Steelers games, and how excited you were when they finally came through after being on that wait list for years and years and years and years, right? But it's because, and you're a part of a community now, right? Like when you guys go, you have a bunch of people, you go together, you sort of tailgate together, you hang out before the game, you walk over to the stadium, you go to the game, you cheer together, right? Like you people who sit in the same section, right? Who have tickets near each other, get to know each other over time. So there is absolutely a sense of community. And I think what you're talking about with the Knicks is, and they did hit a slump for a while where their attendance was way down. They were having a really bad time as a team, right? And I'm sure you saw that as a fan. If you were watching the games a lot on TV, you saw that like half the time, Madison Square Garden was more than half empty for a home game, right? Like there were not a lot of people showing up to watch the games. But what they've invested a lot of time and effort and energy in is creating a better sort of experience for the fans. And when you create a good experience for the fans, it helps build that sense of community and create a desire on the part of the fans to want to show up, right? And demonstrate their fandom for the team, and kind of put their money where their mouth is and buy tickets, because they get so much value in entertainment and fun out of going to the games, right? I think a good example of that, like kind of taken to a further extreme, is the example of Banana Ball, right? If you guys are familiar with that, Banana Ball is this thing that I think it's in North Carolina, but this guy basically they were looking at minor league baseball, and they were like, the games take way too long. Nobody stays past like the seventh inning. Like the experience of going to a game just wasn't great, right? And so what they decided to do was they went took a very radical approach, and they actually changed the rules of the game that was played to make the user experience better. And now they're starting a league around this. It was just a couple of teams initially. Now they're starting a whole league around it, and they're sold out every game. Every game is sold out, and people stay through the entire game because they changed the rules and made the games more efficient. So the games are a lot shorter. So they get people to stay the whole time. People have a ton of fun, right? It kind of swept the nation as this, it was in the news a number of years ago as this big sort of revolutionary idea, but it's stuck around and proven that it has staying power because it's all about making the experience for the fans, for the community better, right? So it's an audience first approach to baseball. And I think what you're describing, Dom, is an audience first approach to basketball, right? Not as extreme because they're still in the NBA and they can't change the rules, but you know, kind of a similar thing. So that's what it made me think of, was that idea of banana, like that example of banana ball. And I encourage everybody to go look it up. There's a book about banana ball, and there's, like, I'm sure there's a documentary on it at this point. But go look up banana ball if you don't know what I'm talking about. Check it out. It's interesting and funny. But yeah, so that's what I think of your show.
Good stuff, man. Well, thank you. There was a point. Have you ever? Is anybody clap if you've ever seen Freddie Mercury do that at Live Aid, where he walked out on stage and went, you know, and starts. Can anybody sing that? Julie, can you sing that? You know that.
Let's not try. Let's just yeah.
Really, Tom?
Let's not
I'm
try.
a very good singer.
She was. Well, so he comes out there and what's he do? Go woo, you know, whoop, 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 and like then the crowd repeats it. The crowd repeats it. The crowd repeats it.
Yeah,
so,
it's just, you can just call it a call and repeat. We don't have to try to do it.
It's so incredible though, like that whole the energy there. Seriously, and I'm
it was amazing, don't worry, right, Julie?
Everybody, don't worry, anyone.
Okay, so at the Knicks game, at some point, it looks like a rat or a hamster or something comes up on the screen. And I don't know that they do this at every game or what, but the rat or hamster comes up on the screen and its mouth moves to Freddie Mercury doing that Live Aid thing. And everybody seemed like the whole audience knew that this was coming, and it was marvelous. And so I'm all in.
I've never seen what you're talking about, Dom, but it's New York. So if I had to guess, not a hamster, definitely a rat.
Okay, I could not tell.
It's New York. It's got to be a rat, right? Like, I mean, come on. We had Pizza Rat, right? Like, it's got to be a rat. It's New York. It's got to be a rat.
It would be funnier if it was a rat, but I
gerbil.
What's that, Brian?
Maybe it was a gerbil.
It could have been a gerbil. I'm not sure. All right,
enough with the rodent.
Okay.
It's New York. It's a rat. Period. End of story.
We're Googling that. We'll put that link up. John, what do you got, John Jay?
Tell Brian I got the gerbil reference. That's so funny.
All right. Gerbil reference. That's strike two for
We're
Brian.
not going to explain that. We're not going to.
Okay.
I think I got it too, and we're not going to explain it. We're live streaming.
It's going off the rails here. All right, not the smartest guys in the room. Mr. Brian P. Swift, you have SOAR. You have built a community around SOAR. Swift Outdoor Accessible Recreation. You are hosting an event soon. How do you build community, Brian? How do you get people to care or understand what Swift Outdoor Accessible Recreation does when maybe they're not affected by disability or handicap accessibility or things like that? How do you do that, Brian? And you do it very well.
Well, thank you. You know, I'm blessed. We're going into our 8th year, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit. I think, first of all, you're selling yourself. I think that's what you're doing first, even though I don't want to sell myself. I'm not. It's not about me, but I think you have to sell yourself and your vision for something that's bigger than you. And like John Jay, he's not doing his show for him. He's doing it for the community out there that he helps, that he gets to expose these amazing stories to. He exposes amazing people to his crazy large community. I'm trying to expose people to a plight that's out there, that's overlooked by so many other things. And you know what? There are so many causes out there, but this is one that has really been kicked to the floor, behind so many other causes. And if you look at statistics of people with disabilities in the country, 20% of our country has some form of disability. And another 20, and it's rising, and it's going to continue to rise because of the age of the baby boomers. And look at ourselves as we've aged and slowed up. I noticed the amount of handicap stickers on cars now. I mean, I've never seen so many. And so sharing, I think you got to sell yourself. I think you have to sell the vision of what you're doing. And then you have to show them the fruits of their involvement. For me, that's showing pictures of the people that we've been able to get equipment, showing pictures of, the family's joy in being able to do things together, showing the pictures of somebody going out and maybe being able to fish, which was their love that they haven't done in 10 or 15 years. I think it's about being just like we talk about here, being genuine, and being consistent. Thank you.
Hey, Tom, I just wanted to, sorry, I love this idea of showing others being successful, right? Because it is clearly not about Brian. It is social proof. Here is somebody that Brian was able to help, whether it's SOAR was able to help, whether it's I see people out hunting that Brian shares. I see them all of a sudden able to cross the beach and go into the ocean, and that social proof that he's sharing, super valuable. So great thought. So okay, hold on here. That's all I got, Tom. Tom, we're trying to be briefer. We're trying to be on message. We're trying to deliver value to all of the people that we appreciate for coming here, right? So we're not going to moan and groan. We're not going to talk about meander and not be clear and concise. So we're going to do about an hour. Tom, you ready to wrap us up?
I am. Yeah, exactly. We're trying to keep this a little bit more clear, a little bit more concise, a little bit more confined to a kind of a single topic each week, so that we don't start one place and end up 100 miles away somewhere else. Right. We're trying to kind of keep it a little bit more clear. So this week we were talking about building community and all the kind of different ways that can sort of manifest depending on what your approach is, what you're trying to do, whether it's business related, nonprofit related, whatever in your personal life, whatever the case may be. But yeah, so that's what we're trying to do. And I just want to share one thing that I think you can do as a small practice. But it's something that I think conceptually you can broaden out in its application and use it overall in your communication strategy as you look to build community, whether it's around your brand or around your product or around your nonprofit. And it's very straightforward. It's very simple. It's something that I try to do. I do my best to observe and to follow. So I get a lot of introductions via email to people, right? I have a pretty good network. I'm luckily I'm outgoing. I don't mind talking, in case you guys didn't know. I don't mind talking. And so I meet a lot of people. I'm part of some networking groups, and I get a fair number of email introductions. And so one of the things I always try to do whenever I get an email introduction, in my reply, first of all, make sure you reply. But in my reply, I always read it before I hit send. And specifically what I'm looking for when I read it before I hit send is I'm looking to see how many times I say I versus how many times I say you. Okay. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to make sure that my response in that networking connection makes it clear by virtue of how many times I say you, how many more times I say you instead of I make it clear to the person I'm emailing and the person that I'm being introduced to that I want to set up a call to learn about them. That the purpose of this call, this connection, is to create an opportunity for me to learn about them and understand them and their needs and their business, right? And by that, learn about and explore opportunities for me to help. That's what I want. That's the intention behind these email correspondences that I have, these introductions that I have. In fact, I've even gone so far as to change my email signature. This goes out on every email I send. And Dom can attest to this because he's gotten quite a number of emails from me, that every email ends with "here to help, Tom." Right? Every single email gets that. And it's a reminder that my intention is always to help. And it's an indication to the people I'm emailing that that's my intention. It's a reminder to me that that's what I'm here to do. And so when you get those connections, when you meet people, right, when you grow your community, whether it's a one-to-one communication like an email introduction or it's broader communications with a broad community, make sure that you're using you more than you're using I, right? The yous outweigh the I every time in a community. There's more yous than I's. So make sure that you're making it clear in your correspondence, in your communications, that you care about your audience, you value them, and you put their needs first. And that audience first strategy can very easily, with a lot of time and effort and energy, not very easily, very simply, I should say, that audience first strategy, very simply, with a lot of time and effort and energy on your part, can lead to a huge community and a huge return on that investment. So that's all I got for you guys this week. Thanks so much. If you enjoyed listening to us, if you enjoyed the conversation, if you enjoyed participating on LinkedIn or on Facebook, by all means, let your friends know. Bring them in next week. We'd love to have you. We'd love to hear your comments, see your comments online. We'll always try to mention them, address questions you might have if you post them on LinkedIn. While we're broadcasting here on Clubhouse. If you want to participate actively in the conversation, by all means, come find Not the Smartest Guys in the Room on Clubhouse, and we'll let you come up on stage, get you up on stage, and you can share your thoughts here. But definitely participate on LinkedIn as well. Really appreciate you guys. Love you guys. You guys are the reason why we do this. Thank you so much. You're number one, as Dom is saying with his foam finger right now. You guys are number one. And we will see you next Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, right here. Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. I'm Tom for Dom. We love you guys. We'll see you next week. Until then, have a great weekend. Thanks so much. We appreciate you. Bye.
Thank you, guys.